For a good quarter of a century, the creature you're about to see has captivated the minds of ufologists and pathologists alike. Is it an alien? Is it a mutant? Or perhaps just a rare Russian pet? The details of this mystery are as fascinating as the video itself. And the video is pretty fascinating. It is early August 1996 in the industrial town of Kyshtym in the Russian Ural Mountains. While investigating a robbery, police detective Vladimir Bendlin stumbles upon a shocking discovery. A local woman shows him a grotesque creature that makes his stomach turn.
В квартире находился, значит, такой запах необычный. Ну, какой-то мускусно-сладкий такой тошнотворный запах.
It was around 10 inches long and hairless. It had brownish, grayish skin, a really strange skull with ridges and protruding eyes. The woman said she'd found the creature weeks earlier near a cemetery still alive. She lovingly dubbed it Alashenka and said her family cared for it for a few weeks until it finally died. Bendlin says the woman's mental state was questionable and the details of her story inconsistent, but he still needed to identify this body.
Вот, ну, показали чисто вот визуально сотрудникам городской больницы Кыштымской.
A first examination of the specimen determined it was likely a human fetus. But Detective Bendlin took it to a pathologist for a second opinion. And according to forensic investigator Chase Klotsky, the evidence was anything but clear.
There are several things missing. Ears, nose, genitals. Probably the most striking piece that we found that really puzzles everybody is it's absolutely absent of a navel.
No belly button? That's odd. But perhaps there's an equally unusual explanation.
In 1957, there was a disaster at a military facility near Kyshtym. There was an explosion in a tank where nuclear waste was stored, and it sent a radioactive plume over many nearby villages. Some have speculated that Alashenka might be a deformed fetus caused by the fallout from that disaster.
Detective Bendlin also brought the body to someone he hoped could determine if perhaps Alashenka was not of this earth at all.
He did eventually give the mummified corpse to some UFO investigators.
But the case then took another strange turn.
After which, it vanished without a trace. So now, only videos and photos of Alashenka survive.
The Kyshtym explosion was actually the worst nuclear disaster until Chernobyl. But the Soviet government didn't come clean about it until 1989. So is Alashenka linked to the fallout? Was it a visitor from somewhere even further away? Our experts are on the case. Science writer Mick West weighs the theory that this is some kind of extraterrestrial specimen.
It looks a bit alien-like. But the thing about aliens in popular culture is they often look like babies. They have big bulbous heads, and they have small bodies, and they have skinny limbs.
West thinks the creature's inhuman eyes and head are most likely explained by the Kyshtym disaster.
I think what we have is a badly deformed child because of mix-up in the genetic code. It could be something that came from radiation in that area.
But anthropologist Kathy Strain thinks the creature predates the 1957 explosion by millennia.
It looks like it's a human infant that died in childbirth. Its head is cone-shaped like that due to the birthing process. And eventually, they became mummified. I do not believe that this woman had this alive for 3 weeks. It is clearly very old, maybe even 1,000 years old.
Interestingly, the woman who claims to have found this specimen alive was eventually taken to a psychiatric facility. But Detective Bendlin says family members who backed up her story seemed entirely trustworthy.
Ну, тут как судить? В принципе, мало ли, что тут сложно. А может, на самом деле было. Я не берусь вот рассуждать, и установить не представилось возможным.
All right, this one continues to be confounding. Based solely on the video evidence, our verdict is that Alashenka is a mummified infant. However, until the body is recovered and a DNA test is performed, we can't say for sure. April of 2021, it's nighttime on a rural road in Costa Rica when a security camera picks up this mysterious footage. Let's slow it down and zoom in. It's dark and the footage is grainy, but it appears as if some bizarre creature creeps out of the shadows. It's clearly much larger than the dogs that can be seen cautiously approaching it before it waddles away into the night. Down the street, some men responding to the commotion step into the road and capture additional smartphone footage of the strange creature. Gustavo Martinez runs a local YouTube channel and has a theory.
Lo que se puede ver en el video es una criatura muy conocida en Costa Rica que se le dice la mona.
Field researcher Ken Gerhardt, who studies Latin American folklore, says La Mona Bruja, also known as the monkey witch, is known throughout the region.
La Mona Bruja is said to be able to transform into the shape of a monkey. Encountering La Mona Bruja is considered to be a portent of impending disaster, illness, death. Essentially, it's just bad news.
And as strange as that seems, an even stranger theory soon emerges. Some on the internet feel they see more than 4 legs, here and here. And that scrabbling movement, get ready, they think it could be a giant spider. Cliff Bergman says there are legends.
There are stories of the Jebba Fofi, which is this folkloric spider in Central Africa that was apparently observed once by some explorers in the 1930s. Apparently it was a tarantula-like spider in the web that was 3 to 4 feet in diameter.
But this is a New World sighting. Are there any New World giants? Well, in a way. Check out this nightmarish footage, captured by a biologist in the Amazon rainforest in 2019. It shows a massive tarantula killing a possum. Wow. If there were to be some undiscovered species of spider or another creature, biodiverse Costa Rica would be a logical place to find it. 5,000 new species of animals and plants were discovered there between 2011 and 2013. But is what we see in this video even real? We wanted to know if this is some kind of CGI, so our first stop was to our video forensic analyst, Michael Primo.
I haven't been given any real reason to question the authenticity of the video recording.
Okay then. We asked wildlife biologist Dr. Stephanie Shuttler to address the theory that this could be a giant unknown spider species.
Spiders couldn't get to this size. They have an exoskeleton and it would be too large and heavy. They also depend on tracheal openings. They don't have lungs. They also have copper-based blood, which isn't as efficient as our iron-based blood. So the oxygen couldn't get throughout their body if it was this big.
Professor of biology Dr. Floyd Hayes goes through several other options among the known local wildlife.
Well, this doesn't look like any known species of mammals that lives in Costa Rica, like a tapir or a peccary or a sloth or a monkey. We don't know of any monkeys that walk with their legs splayed outward like this individual here, so it can't be a monkey.
Under closer scrutiny, Hayes thinks he spots a clue in the dark and grainy video.
It looks like the rear legs are longer than the front legs, which is why I think it looks to me like a human trying to walk like a crab would walk.
Dr. Shuttler agrees and thinks that it's the behavior of man's best friend that provides the conclusive evidence.
We see a dog appears to be barking at it, and then it seems to go really close to it. And if that were a real animal, I think the dog would be much more scared and acting more defensive.
So it turns out this isn't the legendary witch monkey of Costa Rica, and it wasn't a monstrously large spider. While we don't think the video was doctored, our verdict is that this is a hoax. It's just a very flexible person in a costume imitating a crab walk, but we're still not sure why. January 2022, Clacton, UK. A family holidaying at a caravan park is seeking repose inside their home while an infrared security camera records the exterior. The next morning, while checking the motion-triggered device, they see this. A strange, winged creature flutters from underneath the porch and toward the camera before flying away. Let's take another look. As we slow this down and push in, let's freeze it right there. The figure seems humanoid in appearance, with the exception of the wings, of course. Once posted, this clip immediately went viral, prompting many people to claim that this is photographic evidence of a real-life fairy.
There's something about the way that this thing moves that doesn't
track like an insect, and people think this was a fairy.
According to McCarthy, the fact that this video is from the UK plays right into the fairy legend.
There's a long history of fairies in the UK. They were actually first written about in the 13th century. And from pop culture, we're kind of used to this image of a cute little sprite that just brings joy, but that's not what fairies have always been depicted as. In fact, some people believe that they are ghosts or spirits, fallen angels or demons.
In fact, the fairy mythos includes all sorts of nefarious tiny creatures, like Scotland's redcaps, murderous little men with sharp claws and teeth who would mop up the blood of their victims using their hats.
They're not the kind of creatures you would want to run into in a dark forest at night. That said, we of course have the tooth fairy, who comes and visits children and plucks their teeth out from under their pillows after they've lost them and leaves them a little treat in return. What does she do with the teeth, though? Makes you wonder.
Some people have suggested that the reason the tooth fairy leaves money under pillows for lost teeth is connected to the Norse Vikings, who would pay gold coins for children's teeth, fashioning them into necklaces they would then wear for good luck on the battlefield. Let's see what kind of luck our experts have when it comes to cracking this case. We went to forensic video analyst Michael Primo to see if this video was even real.
The way the infrared technology is producing a reflection onto that object, it doesn't look like layering to me. It looks like something is flying in this area that the infrared is detecting and the video is trying to capture as best that it can. And this would be very difficult to fake because the infrared technology is something that we can't see.
So according to Primo, this video is legit. But that doesn't mean it's not misrepresenting the object's size.
As you can see here, there's a trail, if you will, of this object shape behind it. This is a common symptom of motion blurring. And these are essentially errors in the way that the file is being created. What we're seeing here may actually be misrepresenting the size of the object as well.
We next brought the video to biologist Floyd Hayes.
As you can see, this little creature here looks a lot like Tinkerbell. However, we're not really seeing much in the way of a head or the arms. We're seeing legs, but we're not really seeing feet there, so it doesn't look quite as humanoid as we might expect with a fairy.
In fact, it's actually the shape of this creature that leads Hayes to believe it's something a little more common.
What I'm seeing here is in between the two wings, there are two antennae that are sticking out. And that tells me that this is an insect rather than a fairy. And because it has long legs, I believe this is an orthopteran insect of the order Orthoptera, which includes crickets, grasshoppers, and katydids. So I think this is just a grasshopper that was on the ground, and as it flew up toward the light, it passed in front of the camera. Although the large marsh grasshopper's body length is less than 2 inches, it looks larger when it extends its wings and it dangles its legs downward.
Our verdict, grasshopper. The video is legit, and Hayes' expert observation leads us to believe this is just a flying insect eager for its 15 minutes of fame. But we'll keep one eye open on the foggy moors, hoping to catch a glimmer of that fairy glow. July 5th, 2022, Moorhead, Kentucky, 65 miles west of Lexington. A warm summer's day turns to night in the backyard of Douglas Windsor McCloney III. Doug's security cameras are on duty when they capture this. A mysterious pale figure appears. It's lanky, yet hunched and lurking near the back garden of a home. The figure moves slowly, carefully, as it seemingly looks around while approaching the owner's car. Field researcher Ken Gerhardt sheds some light on this creeptastic footage.
Now, it's worth noting that the town of Moorhead, Kentucky is certainly no stranger to close encounters. On November 21st, 2003, a local psychologist named Virgil Davis, along with his 2 teenage sons, were driving near their home in Moorhead, Kentucky, when they saw this strange glowing object in the sky. And according to the eyewitnesses, this thing actually descended into a nearby field. When the 2 Davis boys went out to investigate, they heard sounds of a woman screaming, like a woman being, in their words, ripped apart, which prompted them to make a 911 call.
After that 911 call, local law enforcement officers swarmed the area. They found no sign of any woman or a UFO for that matter. But the strange events didn't end there.
So a few weeks after this incident, a crop circle was found about 45 miles south of Moorhead. Based on this additional information, is it reasonable to assume that a woman was actually abducted by aliens? And that's what these boys heard when she was screaming? And if so, could we connect it to this strange video?
For Gerhard, this ghostly gremlin also reminds him of the state's most infamous cryptids, the Kentucky Goblins, which trace back to a famous incident on the Sutton farm near Hopkinsville in 1955.
According to several eyewitnesses, these strange, short-statured, silvery humanoid creatures appeared on the scene, very similar to what we're seeing in this video. The Sutton family actually blasted one of these goblins in the face with a shotgun from point-blank range with literally no effect.
Now, the Hopkinsville Goblins were allegedly connected to a UFO sighting. In fact, many speculate they could be members of the Greys, the widely reported humanoid aliens made famous by incidents like Roswell. But others suggest Kentucky's goblins don't come from the skies above, but from deep under the ground.
Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky boasts one of the largest cave systems in the country, and it has been speculated that these goblin-like creatures came from deep in the earth.
As you can see, the body of this creature is very humanoid. But when it gets close to these parked vehicles right here, take a look. It appears to be much smaller in scale than your average person. One could even say it is goblin-sized. Let's see what our experts think. Biologist Stephanie Manka explores the underground goblin theory.
Animals that have adapted to live exclusively in caves, they don't need to produce pigmentation to protect themselves from the sun, so they will often be light or white colored, which is what we see here in this video.
Cave dwellers like the Texas blind salamander and the eyeless olm all share the same similar white color Manka describes. But for Manka, the body structure of this creature kills the idea that it's some sort of spelunking goblin.
If this were a cave-dwelling animal, like a goblin, we would expect it to be on 4 legs to be able to get into smaller spaces. It doesn't really make sense to me that a being in a cave would have evolved to walk on 2 legs.
Anatomist Jeff Meldrum tries to determine if this tiny driveway demon could possibly originate from off-world.
It looks otherworldly on the basis of the very uniform appearance of its coloration, its texture. It has very spindly appendages, very narrow arms and legs. I don't immediately see any definition of hands or feet.
While the creature is undeniably strange-looking, Meldrum doesn't think it fits the profile of the Sutton Farm invaders or the Greys.
I've never seen an eyewitness depiction of a Grey describe that posture. This crouching, skulking figure. Its head to body proportions aren't in line with that stereotypical image. You know, it's not beyond the realm in my mind of a person in some sort of a costume. The limb proportions don't seem to be out of the range of possibility for a human. I would investigate with people much more knowledgeable about the technical aspects of that sort of a video.
So that's exactly what we did, by taking this video to our forensic video analyst, Michael Primo.
So this video is a camera recording the playback from another source. Digitally, this is a completely different format than what was originally recorded by the surveillance system. And so is this an authentic video? It's inconclusive. We don't have any original properties about the video. And whether or not it's some sort of extraterrestrial is difficult to say, because it could be something that's staged. And in an effort to conceal that information, the operator simply made a video to try to hide the effect that that had on the camera.
Our verdict? We're calling this an unidentified creature. It certainly could be a hoax, but without more data about the footage, our forensic video analyst couldn't say for sure.